All right, well, friends, welcome to the Kogo Podcast. My name is R.W. Moody. I'm the next gen pastor here at Kogo Ministries, and so glad that you could join us for this episode of the Kogo Podcast. And so just to remind you, the purpose of this podcast is to move leaders in Ohio, and actually sometimes in different places too, to be challenged through bite-sized conversations about ministry, leadership, and growth. And so we invite you today just to take a listen, to step into your God call, and to be challenged as we move together in this great state. So today on the podcast, we have a great episode lined up for you. Kyle Hayes, who is a good friend of the state of Ohio, used to serve at Salem Church of God in Clayton, Ohio, is with us today on the podcast. So we're going to talk about a really cool ministry that you should know about if you're around Church of God ministries like circles enough, but just in case you don't, Children of Promise. So Kyle, welcome to the podcast.
Hey everybody, it's so good to be back with my Ohio friends, albeit digitally. You can ignore Indiana behind me, but I am a Buckeye by birth, so I'm always there if the Kogo crew need anything. I'm here, so let me know.
We are glad that you are here with us on the podcast. I'm not sure about the Buckeye by birth thing, but that's just, sorry,
Hey,
I get up north.
I didn't choose it.
That's right. Well, Kyle, I know that a lot of people know who you are from your days here in Ohio, but just for the sake of listeners, either update or maybe have never heard of who you are, tell us about yourself, your ministry role, and the capacity that you serve.
Thanks, RW. Hey, everybody. My name is Kyle Hayes. I'm the Director of Development at Children of Promise. So we work internationally. We'll talk about that a little bit more through the Church of God movement, especially with children. And what's kind of unique about my calling is I grew up in the Church of God, accepted a call to ministry actually at IYC when I was 16. And I really followed through with that, literally. I went to AU to get a degree, started out as a children's pastor for a large chunk of my career in Eastern Kentucky, and then actually back in Dayton, Ohio at Salem Church. And then around, 3 or 4 years after I'd been there, transitioned into outreach and missions and children's ministry. And now I'm ended up years later at Children of Promise doing both again, doing ministry, preaching a lot, teaching a lot around the United States, and also visiting the children around the world, where I still get to do my little tricks of the trade for my children's ministry days, but in international churches now. So It's funny how God kind of put the puzzle pieces together for me and my wife, who Jessica's her name. She's also on staff here at Children of Promise. She does all the letters and photos and a lot of other stuff. And we're living the dream. This is our dream job and we love it. So thankful to be here today. Yeah.
I was looking at the Children of Promise website this morning and saw your title, Development Director. And I was like, hey, there's a lot of development that's got to happen with that. I mean,
yeah, that's basically what I do. And I love it. Big thanks to our board and also our directors, Mike and Heather Webb, who will actually be at the state meetings for Ohio here in the next month or so, or actually, because we're coming real soon. And they're the super supportive and allowing me to just be super creative. And so that's what I love to do, is create ideas, try things. If they don't work, try something else. And we're very thankful to have a lot of great supporters around the world who are on the ride with us and love to try new things. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, Kyle, just for the sake of somebody who maybe they've heard a little bit about Children of Promise, but don't really know what all Children of Promise does, give us a kind of a nickel version of what Children of Promise is all about, and then like the strategy that you guys have to actually reach kids around the world.
Yep. Yeah, so Children of Promise was founded in 1992, actually by former Church of God missionaries who had been in multiple parts of the Church of God world and recognized a gap for children. They didn't feel like there was enough support there for the children of the Church of God movement. And so in 92, they started with 5 or 6 countries and started what is become a 33-year story of helping children and their families in poverty to what we call run towards wholeness. Wholeness is the biblical idea of shalom. And And so we like to say that we are not just a nutrition, education, healthcare, or discipleship agency. We are all four of those things, which is the biblical idea of wholeness. So if you have me come to your church and preach sometime, my favorite thing to do, I'll do a whole message on biblical wholeness and how that pertains to our ministry and how your church can get involved. But we do that around the world every month of the year. Through child sponsorship and through other means, our GAP fund. Many churches are starting to get involved with that by giving any amount monthly. It helps get kids started on the journey towards wholeness through our program. What I often call an ecosystem of health. I found in my travels around the US, us Americans, RW, have been kind of trained to think of poverty as just hunger. And in my experience, having been all over the world now, it's usually actually a lack of connection is how I would define it. A lack of opportunity, a lack of education, a lack of reliable transportation, a lack of healthcare or doctors nearby, and a lack of food is a part of that, of course. And when churches get involved with the GAP Fund or by sponsoring children, it gives kids access to that ecosystem of health to be mentored and to grow up. And the thing that we really want church leaders to know that a lot of people don't equate in their minds with Children of Promise is that we are really a church multiplication agency also, because all around the world, Church of God congregations are growing because we are there as their local outreach program.
Gotcha.
The churches we work with are all volunteers. That is, I'm jumping kind of into the strategy portion of RW, but
you're good.
Yeah, the big thing people don't recognize about Children of Promise, as opposed to our contemporaries like World Vision or Compassion, we love all those people. The thing that makes us unique, though, is that we only work through local leadership, indigenous leadership, which if you read any kind of global development book right now, this is what we've done since 92, is we only work through the local church leaders, which means they're not doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because this is their calling to love their neighborhood. And on the donor side of things, for you and your churches, what that means is we can get more of the donation dollars to the actual children. We have less overhead because we only work through volunteers around the world who are called and equipped by their pastors and their national leadership. So that's a big uniqueness that a lot of people don't realize about us. And what it does is it creates a system of sustainability in those communities. They're not fully reliant on us because they're doing the ministry anyways. We're just there to support them and kind of push them via shot of adrenaline into their normal ministries they're doing through the children. So to sum all that up, I like to say that we are changing impoverished communities around the world through the children. And so that's kind of our strategy.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you use the terms, working with nationals and letting the nationals kind of carry it. In my years of ministry and working with missionaries from Global Strategy, that's a term that they use a lot too, which totally makes sense. I mean, if you want to have somebody who understands the culture better, why not utilize those folks versus transplanting somebody differently?
Of course. Yeah, we work hand in hand with Global Strategy. They're good friends of ours. And in fact, a handful of our programs were started by Global Strategy missionaries, but very importantly, handed off over time to indigenous leadership, because that's what's going to sustain it long term. Even our friends, the Stockdales in Botswana, they launched our program there, and over a couple years have now trained and let that program go to our local leaders who are doing a really, really good job now with that program. So our model is always to be what we call locally shaped and globally supported. We want to be contextual, but we want to involve the whole global body of Christ as the church to support the vision and mission of our local partners around the world.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned Corey and Abby. I know that that they are close to my heart.
Yeah.
Corey was a student of mine in New Albany, Indiana, a long time ago.
Yep.
They're calling in Botswana. And I remember when Abby was starting that program, and just the, I want to say not the stress that she had, because it wasn't stress, but just the intentionality that she carried with getting the program started in Botswana, which meant a lot to that family. So
totally.
You talk, Kyle, about the 33-year journey. So it's 33 years of Children of Promise. How many countries have been served, and how many countries are currently being served through Children of Promise?
Great question. And again, that's another uniqueness. People all around the world ask me, like, why are you in Guatemala but not, this other country?
Yeah.
And it's very simple. We only go where we're invited. That's it.
Yeah.
In fact, the original six countries, they were all by invitation. So the reason that's so important is we can tend to get ahead of ourselves with American mission sometimes and think that we know what's best for people in completely other contexts and cultures. And I've actually seen the dark side of that a little bit in my world travels when Americans kind of think they know best. The reality is, friends, I'm never going to know how to run the program in Colombia as good as our director, Jeanette, who lives there, knows the children, knows the food, the customs, the dress, everything. I'm never going to be able to do it as good as her, ever, in a million lifetimes. So we go into countries when we're invited by word of mouth. And actually, since 2020, when a lot of nonprofits have slowed down, we've actually been invited into 8 new countries. So currently we're in 34 countries, and there's a couple on deck actually that we're having to currently hit the pause button on because we just can't grow at the rate that God is opening doors for us currently. Places like DR Congo have just launched one of the most dangerous towns in the world right now, Goma. We've just launched a program there. This Christmas, we're actually announcing, and I'll go ahead and tell you all now, we've been invited into Burundi, which is it is the poorest nation on the planet right now. And so the Church of God in Burundi is asked us to launch, and our director, Mike, has already been there to start the training. And this Christmas, we'll be announcing that as a new site for us with people's help to launch that. So we're in 34 places. But if you ever go on a trip with us, you'll see yourself. It's more than just 34 sites by a lot. I mean, in Tanzania, we visit 15, 16 different churches all over the country. Sometimes they're hours away from each other. So the footprint is actually huge in some of the countries where there's a ripple effect happening in all these little communities where kids, kind of like you at the Stocksdales, they have mentors. They're getting mentored. They're becoming pastors. They're becoming school teachers, principals, professors in universities. And that ripple effect, when you start to actually think of it like from a map, is just massive. I mean, all over the world, over 33 years, how it's just spread out. And there's all these influencers all over the world now for the cause of Christ in their own communities and their own callings. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job, is seeing that ripple effect over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Kyle, you mentioned a little bit ago about the GAP program. You mentioned the children's sponsorship, and then also not spread the word, Children of Promise trips. So
Yes.
how can a local congregation get involved in any of those three? And why would it be important for a leader or two, or even a lay leader from a congregation to get involved as a first step?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So every church, I mean, I preach around 35 times a year all around the US. Every church has a different interaction with us. Some churches just want to sponsor kids. That's amazing. And that's when a family like RW's family may have one kid that they can write to. They send their sponsorship dollars to. It's more relational. And you can even visit that kid on our trips, which is one of my favorite things I get to do is take people to meet their sponsored kid. It's so special. But then there's other churches who want to do more of a general thing, which is the Gap Fund. The Gap Fund has changed our whole ministry. Literally, it didn't exist a few years ago. We just invented this kind of to help us react quicker to the needs. And to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, a lot of people don't understand how this works. I'll give you a quick peek behind the curtain. Basically, every year around the world, our national directors call us in the office and say, how many kids can we nominate this year? And we'll look at our numbers and we'll make an educated guess and say, Uganda, you can have 40. Tanzania, you can have 30. Costa Rica, you can have 5, depending on the size of their program. And then pastors like RW go out in the community where the need is the most palpable, and they nominate those children with the families. The families must agree. It's a family program. They have to be involved. And they actually sign into this. And then in our old system, they would have to wait. Like, just wait for me to speak at enough churches to get enough sponsorships. And sometimes kids are waiting over a year, over 2 years from the moment they heard from a pastor, you're going to get food on the table, you're going to go to school. That was just no bueno, to use a little Spanish for it. And it just wasn't good for us. And it wasn't good for the kids. It wasn't good for the leaders because they were having to answer our questions constantly, So the Gap Fund has changed that completely from a 2-year wait list. Actually, our wait list right now is about a month. because of the gap fund. So all around the world, people give $1 a month, $5 a month. Some churches give $300 a month. And what it does is it gets kids started immediately through the gap fund dollars until we find their sponsor. And so it's revolutionized our whole ministry and been able to help us be more nimble and react quicker to the needs around the world, like DR Congo. Like those kids were all sponsored immediately as soon as the program opened in the DR, and it's desperation there. They really need it. So the Gap Fund also does college scholarships for the best and brightest of our program around the world. They apply like you'd apply for a scholarship, and we're able to grant that to there's about 80 kids last year who had college scholarships through the Gap Fund. And it even can seed fund business ventures for our graduates as well. So if a church is wanting to get involved more in a general sense, maybe even on a monthly basis, the Gap Fund is the best way to do it because it does a ton of stuff all at once.
Now, you talked a minute ago about families' involvement. So what does the family on, I'm just going to say the global side, just to differentiate, what do they do to be involved in the program?
So the big thing is they have to be a part of the church community. Unfortunately, a few times a year, sponsors will get a letter and say, like, your child has had to leave the program because of they moved away. And sometimes sponsors say, well, Kyle, why can't they just stay in the program remote? Well, one, as I mentioned before, our volunteers are all volunteers. Like they don't have the margin to go. Most of them are pastors or teachers already. They have full-time jobs. But also, the more important thing for us is Children of Promise is a relational program. Poverty is broken in community. And it's very important that those families are a part of that ecosystem I mentioned before in relationship, whether it's a Christian school or it's an actual church building or it's a Sunday school class. All around the world, they're a little bit different, but the families are required to be a part of that community. And I'll give you one really unique example, probably the most unique, from Ghana, West Africa. In Ghana, West Africa, our program sits right in the middle of a neighborhood that is part Muslim, part Christian. And we allow our directors around the world to nominate children as they see fit, as I mentioned before. But so because the neighborhood is split half and half there, our program is part Muslim children from Muslim family homes. Now, you may be wondering, how does that work? Well, they all attend the Church of God school. We have a school there. And so they go to a K through, I think, 8 school before they go off to high school, where they're a part of a Church of God curriculum, even though they're from Muslim households. And that surprises a lot of people. But again, we trust our local leaders to nominate how they see the culture fit for them, and to make sure that families are a part of it. And so what I mentioned before is churches around the world are growing. A lot of the churches I speak in around the world and visit the children, they're growing because every single month when kids come to get distribution of school supplies or food for their family, it's supplementary food for the whole family, not just the child. They're getting it like at the church building often. So every month families are flocking to these buildings all over the earth. And one other thing I want to mention that a lot of people don't understand about Children of Promise is we never ship goods ever around the world. And you may think, who cares? What's the big deal? Well, one, shipping goods is expensive.
That's a big cost thing.
It's very expensive, but that's actually not the most important reason for us. The most important reason is that every month sponsorship dollars are being pumped into poor communities. So the grocery store inside the poor community is being lifted up. The person with a stationery store, I've visited some of these around the world, who sell stationery for back to school, they're being lifted up. Small business owners around the world who don't have regular income, every month they can count on Children of Promise support to flow through those channels. And a lot of people don't think of their sponsorship dollars like that, but you are lifting up and changing impoverished communities and families by proxy through just sponsoring. I mean, I see it on every trip I go on. So,
Kyle, I've been around the block with Church of God for a while and have had conversations with you about Children of Promise in the past. I didn't know that. And that's it's a great illustration. Again, you talk about the whole idea of community. Let's not just go for, helping one family. Let's spread it out, which is an incredible part of the strategy that, honestly, hearing it for the first time today, I'm very impressed with that.
Great.
I mean, it's a great opportunity that you all well, I mean, the organization of it, has a way to help poverty. I want to go back to one thing you mentioned about the nomination process. So,
Mhm.
is that every year that the directors nominate? Is that a new number, or say like if I'm the director in Botswana, just to take Botswana for a minute, is that an additional kids to what I already have in the program each year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So all around the world, people ask me how many kids are in the program, and that like an exact number is nearly impossible because what people don't realize is school systems operate in very differently around the world. So we may have 400 graduates of high school in the month of May, then we may have 200 more in like November or December in some countries. And so if you're picturing our sponsorship numbers like a roller coaster graph, line graph, it'll drop like this, and then we can nominate more children. And so currently we're sitting around 4,700 to 5,000 kids in the program year round. But to your point, it is new kids. So every year programs are growing at their own pace. Some of our directors don't want to grow fast,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Some of our programs have stayed around 50, 60 kids for many years because that's what they feel called to. Some of our programs are huge and have anywhere from 700 to 1,000 children, but they're a much bigger organization, like with lots of leaders and, transportation and all that stuff. So,
Kyle, what is the monthly sponsorship that you suggest when if a family comes to you after you've preached a message on a Sunday and say, I want to sponsor a kid, what
mhm.
is that monthly commitment that they are committing to?
Yes, great question. 95% of our kids are $32 a month,
Oh,
which,
oh,
right. I've mentioned this a lot around the country. A lot of our contemporary organizations are up in the 40s, almost $50 now. Because it is expensive these days to work internationally in a lot of these countries. The inflation rates are out of this world. But we've worked really hard because we have lower overhead and work through volunteerism. We're able to keep that number low for our donors as best as we can. There are a few programs around the world that are very remote, or are residential, meaning the kids live there year round, that are closer to $50 a month, 38 or 50. And that's just because, it's like 24/7. They're there at the residential places, like in Bangladesh and in India. So, yeah, I always joke with people, my family, like tomorrow night, we will order pizza. That's our thing. I guarantee it. It will be more than $32, and that's for one night of
right.
pizza. $32 from your family's generosity is going to do everything we've talked about for a whole month for the child. And it's kind of crazy how good our directors have gotten at stretching those dollars. As many of you probably know, the US dollar still does pretty well around the world. It's not as good as when I first took this job 5 years ago, but it does still stretch. And you can do a lot with it in these communities that are, working on a completely different currency. So,
Gotcha. Kyle, before we jumped on in the recording part of this podcast, you had mentioned that this summer you guys worked out a new curriculum. And so
mhm.
that's a part of your job as the development director. Can you give us just a little sneak peek on what that curriculum's about and where it could best be utilized in the life of a local congregation?
Yes. And if anyone wants to see anything I'm about to say, you can go to childrenofpromise.global/next steps. There's actually a video of me talking about it, so probably be a better summarization than I'm about to do. But basically, having spoke all over the U.S. at churches of 10 and churches of hundreds, we've seen that it doesn't matter what size church you are, missions is always something everybody wants to do, but it always, always, always gets pushed to the back burner because church life is insanely busy. And I know because I was a pastor for many years. I was a full-time mission pastor and still spent about 5% of my week, if that, on mission because I had other roles. We all have many hats. So we created what's called Your Children of Promise Mission Staffer. That's the name of the program. And you can see this video on our website. But the idea is instead of just asking you to help us grow organizationally by giving to Children of Promise, which we do need, I mentioned that already. 8 new countries since 2020, 34 countries. People are often shocked to learn that there are 7 of us at the headquarters total. And that's not even full-time equivalent. I think we're like 5.5 full-time equivalent. We have a very small team who does everything we've talked about today. And we need to grow because God's opening new doors in really important places in the world. But we don't want to just ask you that. We want to give you more value out of your partnership. So the idea of this partnership is at different tiered levels of support, which would actually be way cheaper than hiring even an intern to do mission. You could get a lot more value out of your partnership with Children of Promise. My team is going to be doing customized calendars for churches, for customized videos. So say you have a special partnership in Guatemala, you could expect, based on your calendar that we build together, videos at different parts of the year. Because as a former missions pastor, here's the hard truth, church leaders. You're not going to like this, but it's just the hard truth. If you want to really have a robust mission program, even local outreach program, I would argue, you got to talk about it more than one Sunday a year.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And I get it. That's why we created this, is we know that churches don't have margin financially, and they don't have margin just in time to do these things, even though people are passionate about the Great Commission. So we want to help you accomplish your goals. And through this program, we think that any size church can have a robust mission program, because we're going to do all of it for you, literally. We're going to plan your trip for you, book the flights for you. We're going to send you the videos when you need them for your special event. Even come speak if it fits into your calendar and ours. So you'll see on the website, there's 4 tiers of that. In fact, the higher tiers, you even earn some free travel for leaders on your staff to go with us places. But we really, really believe that we can make mission easier for you and still very impactful as a part of your discipleship strategy at your church. And that's the last thing I want to say, RW, is for us at the office, all of us have been in ministry our whole careers. We don't think international travel should even exist. Like mission trips shouldn't even exist if it's not a part of your ongoing discipleship strategy at your church. And we have some very robust training that we've built that's also free, by the way, to you. childrenofpromise.global/training. If you want to check that out, you could go watch it today. We built this over a year's time with our friends at Global Strategy, and it is an in-depth missiology course for anybody in your church who wants to learn more. Right now, I think around 500 people have gone through it, last I looked at it, from all over the country. And it's a great next step if you're like, I like some of the stuff I'm hearing today, and I'd like to learn more about this. Healthy missions, what does that mean? This would be a great next step for somebody on this call to go check that out at the /training link.
Fantastic. I'll make sure that when you watch this or listen to this podcast, there should be a little note on the bottom, friends, that you can kind of click onto that. And just to go right to it from what Kyle said on their website, it would be very helpful. Kyle, last thing, as you've been talking, you've been giving us some great information, good challenges, but what word of wisdom would you give the leaders here in Ohio when it comes to being a part of this global kingdom of Jesus Christ?
Yes. This is a big challenge, but I often say this when I speak at churches. Within the concept of the body of Christ, is it possible that none of us will fully experience wholeness, shalom, until all of us do?
It's good.
And my argument for that is this. I ask people all around the country, like, when's the last time you had, a sling, or you had even a bad paper cut, or you had an injury? How did that affect your week? It's annoying, right? Like, even just getting in and out of the car, it can be a pain. That's the reality for the families that we work with all around the world. They're a part of the body, and they can't operate at full capacity because of racism, because of history in their country, because of oppression. I've seen these things because of, like, the girls in Dalatya, Bangladesh, who are literally considered untouchables in their context. How do you deal with that? Well, you need help from the rest of the body. And here's what I truly believe, church leaders. Mission work or international work, Great Commission work, whatever you want to call it, is not for black belt Christians. It's for all of us. And if you're tricking yourself into believing that when your church is big enough or healthy enough or has enough in this one account to do mission, you're missing out, friends. I really believe that, because I've been a part of some churches who, even though they weren't fully ready, switched the cart and the horse with mission and experienced growth inside the building because they were loving the world well. And so that's my challenge to you. It doesn't have to even be with Children of Promise. I'm just saying, don't get stuck with the cart and horse argument of, we aren't ready for mission and outreach. Friends, it is Christianity 101. We have to be ready for outreach. That is who we are. It's our calling card. So that's my challenge.
That's a great challenge. I loved your comment about if you think it's only for the black belt Christian. Like, That kind of puts it right where the rubber meets the road, hits you right between the eyes. This is for something that all of us need to pay attention to.
Right.
That challenge. Friends, if you've been encouraged or challenged by anything Kyle has said, I know you can reach out to him by going to Church of Children of Promise.global. You can get his information on the website there, but he's a great asset, great tool for us here in Ohio. Again, he's a Buckeye, so he understands us. And as he mentioned before, Mike and Heather are going to be here at our General Assembly in October. So make sure you stop by their table and chat with them a little bit about Children of Promise. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us on the Kogo podcast today.
Yep, no problem. Anytime, guys.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, until the next time we drop an episode, we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.